Hello. I want to show you how you track this in After Effects and then send it into Unreal Engine for a virtual environment that is made in Unreal Engine. I'm gonna go through two stages: one, the tracking of this shot, and two, like removing green screen and all these extra stuff for the purpose of having a clean green screen, like clean foreground. So first of all, if you pay a good attention, you will see that I have scattered some extra objects around this subject. The reason for them is to creating a parallax. So if I had not positioned these here, I had a harder time tracking this shot. Okay, so if you start, you just drag and drop this into comp and then select the area that you want to work on, and then it's time to just put this into a pre-comp and then start comping. You can add some curves just to make the life of the tracker a little bit easier by making it a bit contrasty. We will remove all of this later on, so this is only for tracking purposes. And also you can sharpen it. Unsharp was using an unsharp mask. Just a lot of more sharpening. And then you go to the composition, pre-comp, or where's the pre-comp? Or you just press Ctrl-Shift-C. I don't know where it is located. Here. Oh, it's here. Layer pre-comp. So just before sending it to a layer, you also need, so you see that I'm just enhancing the scene. So this is not a final look, it's just an enhancement for tracking, and we remove all of these extra elements. Also, what I do, like you see that the subject is moving, so we have to use a mask around the subject so it won't be tracked, otherwise the tracker will have a hard time. So I press M on my layer and say none for now, because we have to animate the mask go forward, and then oops, let me just click outside, click here. Then go forward. And more. And I think we are all right now. I hope. Maybe somewhere in between. Make sure that nothing is missed. So once the mask is done, you just set it on subtract. So this one is not included in the shot. And then Ctrl Shift C for pre-comp. Make sure you move all the attributes into the new comp. Call it for tracking comp. Tracking pre-comp. And so now we have a new layer. It's a combination of previous layers. All you have to do, find a 3D camera tracker, drag and drop on this. It starts working, but what I do, I just make sure that say that detail analysis is on, and I can cancel it so it doesn't, so I can reset it and cancel, and then make sure that detail analysis is on. Everything else is all right, I think. Oh, solve method here, it's typical now, like it's just the auto, but if you have mostly flat scenes or you have a camera on tripod, make sure you set this here as well. And that's all. So most of it is already done. We're almost there. So it gives you it solves the camera and it gives you a tracked scene, which if I click here, you see the points, it's not very visible here, so you can go and here track point size and make them like way larger, so they would be like available to investigate. That's too large. So you need a center point in this wall. Well, first of all, you see that this area is not tracked, which is good. So what I want to do is to select all of these ones that are around the chairs and say that if you select them and like you see, oh god, I should just select them again, around the chair legs, all of them, and say that here is right click and say set ground plane and origin, and also right click and say create solid and camera. So it adds a solid and adds a camera, and then make sure you click on this draft 3D, so it gives you a 3D world, which is beautiful. And now you see that we have a 3D world and the camera travels inside. You can press 0 on keyboard. Action. So let me just turn off the sound. You can click 0 on the keyboard. Don't pay attention to here, so because here like things move, but like all you need to pay attention is this purplish thing. So, and it seems that it has been tracked very well. All you have to do, save your project. I'm going to save as tracking, and then go to the file, export Maxon Cinema 4D exporter. It says this has 2D layers, won't be exported, which I know, which is fine. Here I call it tracking camera. Okay, so the camera is exported. We export it as a Cinema 4D, but we use it in Unreal Engine, so we don't need to have Cinema 4D either installed or licensed because we don't use it. But what I do is before I'm gonna make use of this layer. I just duplicate that, so I move it up, higher up, and possibly I just go inside and copy this outside. And even remove the mask. I'm gonna keep the mask because I'm not gonna subtract, I'm gonna add the mask back on, or maybe none for now. So I'm gonna turn all of the layers down. So this one's gonna be main keyed, which is like, I'm gonna remove the green screen on this. Let's get rid of this unsharp mask and stuff. Okay, make sure the mask doesn't cut off his feet, because now I need this mask for just like the area that I want, right? Okay, so let's say that the mask is at, so I only see that area, and then I might just come and say that, let's see how we can get rid of green screen. Key light is always a breeze, useful. So that green screen is removed. But we need a better screen matting. So keying a bit of, clipping a little bit of black, clipping a little bit of white. Okay. And the final result is now better, but the edges are a bit tricky to get rid of. Let's have something. I might need to just do rotoscoping these areas, but we need something to export for now to work with in Unreal Engine. I exported with green screen and without green screen, so we would be able to just work with it. So what I do, I just, for this scene, let's go to the composition and pre-render this one, not as AVI, but as OpenEXR with alpha, and I call it, let me make a new folder, tracking, I call it keyed, and instead of that dash I like to add dot. The reason is that if you want, some software like doesn't like that underscore, they like dot, so leave the padding, which is these ones, there as is. So it's name dot and then this padding structure, render it out. And also I possibly export, not this one, but this one. I possibly export it without these two. And also I just set this back to none and then pre-render this layer again, but maybe this time as a low quality JPEG, because we want to just use it as a preview. And then call it JPEG dot render it again. So while this is getting rendered, this is Unreal Engine. When you open Unreal Engine, you come to this point. You might be tempted to start using a film video live event template, which comes with ray tracing and stuff like that. But I suggest you start with a game, and then you turn everything you need after that. So go to the game, because this one comes with like completely nothing. So make sure you turn off starter content as well. I call this tracking shot, or whatever you want to call it, and games blank, name it and create. It creates the project for you. So once opened, this is Unreal Engine. So it comes with a default environment. If you want to like navigate, everything is pretty much like Maya, except the middle click mouse panning, which always, the first thing that I do is just I go to the edit editor preferences and search for middle, and then I invert middle mouse button. Then your navigation will be look like Maya. So I like to start. So you see that there's nothing here. I like to start with a level sequence. So this could be your shot or 5 or whatever it is. Call it shot tracking, or and then I load this and press save. Now you see that we start with a completely zero scene. There's nothing here. You can start by going to the window, environment light mixer, which creates an outdoor environment. You just, if you click on all of this, it gives you one complete set of lights you need for an outdoor environment. So this is an infinite outdoor environment. I always like to put start putting these into a folder called, I call them in lighting. I'm gonna do indoor lighting, by the way, like so I will end up deleting all of this, but just they're good to start with. And maybe you want to add a, like, click on this plus and then shapes, and add a plane, which to know where is the 0, 0, 0, like where's your 0 point. Actually this is about the ground, so you can, so this is your 0, 0, 0 point in the space, and this could be a plane for it. So before starting, you need to activate a bunch of plugins. So you go to the here, edit and plugins. These are the list of plugins you need for working with green screen in Unreal Engine. Datasmith, Movie Render Queue. So we load them one by one, and Alpha and EXR. This is actually not a plugin, it's a project settings. EXR, image plane, and Lumen ray tracing. So I go through them one by one. So first of all, let's do the one that is for the project settings. And it's, so you go to the edit project settings and search for Alpha, and then make sure you set this enable Alpha channel support to post processing to linear color space. It tells you, do you want to restart now? I say later because I want to load plugins, which is Datasmith, Cinema 4D importer, and also Movie Render Queue with Movie Render Queue additional passes, and also EXR, which is Image Sequence Media Player. Make sure this is checked. And also image plate, and also ray tracing. Ray tracing is not here, it's actually a project setting, so search for ray tracing. So Lumen is on by default. So you can turn on if I search for Lumen, Lumen is on, and detail tracing here. What about shadow? Virtual shadow map is also on. So these are like what makes your project look pretty. I think I've got everything set up, so I can say restart now. So it will restart. It might take some time to load. Once opened, you see again untitled here. If this bugs you guys, that every time you open Unreal Engine and something that you don't like, this untitled scene opens, there's a default, if you go to the project settings, there's a default editor startup map. You can say that this map is my, every time that I want to open this map, open Unreal Engine, I want to see this map which I just created. So let's create a okay, so if you click on this plus button and you see this Datasmith now, so if you go to the file import, you can bring what we just created, which was this tracking camera. It brings all of it. There is nothing we need to change. We just press import. And what you will get is you know, like it imports a bunch of stuff. This 3D camera, it imports them into your level, which so that's why you have to have a level. So once they are opened inside this folder, it gives you like this camera, and also it gives you this tracking cam level sequence. This is like a timeline. When I double click on it and when I click on the camera, you see that this camera moves very much. We don't have a ground or anything, that's why, but I'm gonna start adding things here. Where's that plane, by the way? Let me add some shapes, some cube here. Okay, so you see that this one like travels and it reaches here, which I can push this further forward, make it longer. So now you start to see, oh, there's something happening here. the right way of working is that you should not add like an object here. I just wanted to show you. I delete this object and I turn off this camera from the tracker, and you see that this camera is in the air, like, right? It's hovering high up, while your ground is here. This is our ground, so this is this plane. Actually, I can rename this by pressing F2 and say ground, and make it like 100 by 100. Actually, here 100. This could be a landscape if that's more helpful, because landscape gives a bit of texture and is on it as well. Let me just see if I can add a landscape mode, and then here I create a landscape, new landscape, and then press create. So generates a land. So all you have to do is switch your so this landscape you need just to go and, like, you know, paint and do stuff. But I go back to selection. So maybe you don't need this ground, but I just keep it there. We have this landscape. It's easier to see through the camera. This is the camera and this is the landscape, and if you add a cube that is the size of this cube is 1 meter to 1 meter to 1 meter, and I really again like to send this to 0, 0, 0, right? So maybe bring it slightly up on top of the landscape. Usually landscape like is about 100 units above the ground, like 0.150 units here. So if you look at the camera just suddenly like walks about 10 meters. That was not what's happening in the real life. Let's move this camera, select the camera group, the higher top group of the camera, and then move this down until it reaches next to the box cube. You see the camera there, right? If I travel through, you see that, oh, this is like a racing car. It just passes so fast and it reaches to that spot and then rotates the camera. So the reason is the difference between units. Usually like your world might be much bigger in Unreal Engine or much smaller. So here I make sure that this scale is locked. So I select the tracking camera higher group, which is exported from After Effects. So these are like two groups, and then at the end is the camera. So I select the top one and I say that it's 1/10 smaller. So, and it's as you see, it's also locked. Let's bring it up again and more. So, and then I'm gonna take it slightly back. So if you look at the movement on it, it's much more like, and if you look at it, the camera is tiny, tiny, tiny here. So all I want to do is to use this box as a stand-in for the person who was in the shot. So you see that the camera travels until it reaches and then looks up. But when it reaches and looks up, the feet, if you remember, was like a little bit cut out. Okay. This looks more like what we were looking at. If we look at the camera focal length is 11. I don't know if that's the right focal length. For me it was, let me search for it. It was, I used iPhone 12 wide camera aperture, or like focal length. It's 13 mil. Wow, it's very close actually. Here it says 12, so I can type 13 to get a better, even better, more accurate representation of that. So our camera is set up. Now I have to bring the green screen stuff into Unreal Engine. So I go here, I create another folder. I call it for GS or green screen. Here I go to the media and image, sequence image, media source, keyed, and then double click on it, click on the sequence path, and here this was the EXR version. Save it. Actually it's better to call it EXR. You can duplicate this and JPEG and change the path to JPEG. I usually start working with the JPEG one. All you have to do is go to the beginning of the shot. I'm gonna save everything, Ctrl Shift S, and then drag and drop this into the scene. And you have to drag and drop this into the scene and drag and drop this into the sequencer. So, and it asks you something, would you like to disable autoplay? Yes, because we're gonna make movie, not the game thing, game playable stuff. So I go to the beginning of this, and what you can do is just click on this camera, and then our job is to make this rotating and looking to, first of all, make sure, so you see that let me rotate this, then you will see it better. You see that like kind of world, this is local, this is world attributes. All I have to do is to make sure that it covers the entire screen without going into the ground. So that's why I have to first of all land it on the ground. Oh yeah, it's already on the ground. Okay, nice and neat. So now I set it to, if you look at the pivots again, this is local. So click on the camera again. Oh, that's very nicely positioned. That's very nicely positioned at frame. Oh no, it's not. Okay, I come here because I should have gone to frames, and then I move this further forward a little up. You can turn off this grid things like these ones, so it doesn't snap, continue snapping and things. So you see that I don't rotate it, I just only move it. I can rotate it on horizontally, but not, I don't rotate it this way. I don't rotate it this way. All I do, I move it around and I rotate it towards the camera. Can take it down. Okay. Let's say that this is almost accurate, right? So what you can do, look at the, so this is something like a image plane in Maya. So if you grab this JPEG and drop it on the camera, you see that the camera takes the JPEGs and goes with it. So if I look through the camera, you're gonna see that it's super cool here. So it just like moves with everything moves with it, and until it reaches to this box, which and we see a similar action. But it would be much nicer if we see, so I'm gonna take this out and turn this off. It would be much nicer if we see the EXR doing that. So I drop the EXR to the scene, I drop it here, and what I would say to the EXR, I'm gonna click on the JPEG, right click here and say copy all the positions back to the EXR, paste them back to the JPEG, all the rotations, copy and back to the EXR and paste them. So the EXR, now I'm going to go to the beginning, turn off the JPEG, and then drag and drop the EXR to the 3D camera. So now look through the camera, I should see like this camera functioning pretty well. So this is a very good guide. Well, there is some like kind of vibration at the beginning, so it shows that the tracking was not 100% there, but like it's almost there. So like it's usable. It's usable. Apart from a little bit of the beginning of it, which needs a bit of management. Also, if you see that, look at the edges here. Like it's not 100% accurate, right? But it's just a good guideline. Okay, so let's start bringing some stuff and make use of what we have made of. So I'm gonna call Control Shift S to save everything. Yeah, all good. Click on the camera, go out. So I'm gonna get rid of this box. I'm gonna get rid of all the lights. So I select all of them and get rid of them. So it's gonna be absolute darkness here. If you want to see stuff, just go to the lights and unlit. So this would be like a unlit environment, no lights. Maybe I start with moving this ground landscape. Actually, I'm going to get rid of landscape as well. Just the ground is fine. And not 100 by 100, maybe 10 by 10. And then move that up until we see, yeah, where this one lands. Okay. That's a nice positioning of the ground. now I can start position objects around. So what I do, I just, for this one, I just put some basic objects, some cylinders around as like columns. Look through the camera, put them around the person. Oh, make sure they're local. They are massive. You can hold Alt and duplicate this. You can go to wireframe as well, and then I can have a better life repositioning this around. And then the camera goes and reaches to here. So I can hold Alt and, you know what, I'm gonna switch to the world, and I'm gonna duplicate this and then move it this way. And actually I could move this further away. Holding Alt and duplicating. If you look through the camera, what just happened? Did I break the camera? Okay. Oh yeah, I might have so here, if you see like things go crazy and you can't see the environment, here is because the camera cut needs to just use your camera. So here you come to the beginning, camera 3D camera, which is the camera that we have. So I'm gonna move the, go back to the world. I'm gonna move things. I'm gonna possibly select all of this and then move them slightly, oops, away, and then I have the chance of adding more columns. Okay, if I go back to let's okay. This is interesting look, but the lighting gonna be terrible, of course. So if you turn on light, there's no light. So I'm going to use emissive light, which is a very beautiful light on the objects. So here I'm inside contents. I make another folder called materials. I make two materials here, like actually just one, and just double click it. Emissive one, and then double click on it. Hold 3 on the keyboard and then click. It gives you a color. Hold 3 and click. Oh, why it doesn't do anything? Because I don't have a mouse, I'm using a tablet. Anyway, so what I do, I just search for vector parameter and then drop a vector parameter here and make sure that it is sort of, I don't know, one side could be reddish, and go to the base, go to the emissive color, save it, and actually all of these ones on the side what happened? I just want to assign, oh yeah, the issue was that. So I just want to turn off the camera, come out of the camera, select this one, maybe. You can drop this into one by one, or I can dock in the layout and then so it's here, so it doesn't go anywhere. There's a way to apply on multiple, I forgot how. Ah, the shift doesn't work here. So if we turn on light, you see that those ones are doing their job, which is pretty. Let's create another material, which I just hold Alt and duplicate this, copy it here, double click on it, change the color to bluish, and then save it. Ctrl Shift S, save everything, and then I just okay, so let's turn the light on. Let's look through the camera. So now we see a nice environment with nice lighting set up in it. We can have a better lighting if we have a light, a source of light, a directional light in the world, which is looking from let's add some shadow, but you have to make it very weak, like really weak. You see, it gives a bit of shadow, which is nice, and that like light leak stuff is gone as well. So it's time to render, and for rendering, what I do is, let me just get rid of that folder. We have to delete, I can hide these two. Actually, there is a rendering section for these ones, and we can make it invisible to the renderer. I don't want to delete them, I just want to make them invisible to the renderer. Okay, so it's there, but it doesn't get rendered. Okay, so you need to make the alpha working for you, alpha channel. So because we want to have alpha channel rendered, right? And if you remember in the project settings, I turned on this alpha, enable alpha channel support in post-processing. It's on. And also when I click on this, I get Movie Render Queue, which was another plugin that I installed. In here, Movie Render Queue, I just go here, go to the settings, which is this middle one. We don't want to render as JPEG, we want to render as EXR. And in the default rendering, we have to include alpha. In the output, give it some warm-up frames. Where's warm-up frames? First of all, let's give some anti-aliasing, which is this one. And anti-aliasing has some warm-up frames. So a special temporal, maybe 4 by 4. Oh, that's too much. It's greater than that. Okay, so I just leave it as 1 by 1 for now. And then high resolution things. No, I'm not gonna render like a poster or something. And later on we start to use like this object ID, but for now I think this should be all right. So you can select where you want to export this out. So I'm going to export this out in here, for example, say UE render, go inside, select the folder. Naming would be project sequence name, full frame name, whatever it is. You can leave it as is. Frame rate is 30 frames per second, which is all right. I think all is fine. I just have to press render and it compiles the shaders first and then starts rendering. As you see, this is the beauty of Unreal Engine. Things are fast, crazily fast, because it's real time. So if I go back to After Effects, right, I should be able to import my renders here from the folder EXR sequence. Make sure once imported the frame rate is matching the rest, and I use it in the background, fast and easy. So now this one starts to work together. Now all I have to, so I have a beautiful camera match now here. All I have to be worried about now is, well, get rid of these kind of areas, which I can use Roto Brush for it, which I can show you part of it, but you can do the rest. The first few frames is, you see that there's like not clean. That's why you have to use warm-up frames. So yeah, let's do some Roto Brush on here. All you have to do is duplicate this maybe, and then use Roto Brush on it. You have to double click on it to be able to use Roto Brush, and it's tricky because we have to say that I want this, let's say I want first of all I'm going to turn off the key light on this duplicated layer, and in the view we have to say resolution full to make use of Roto Brush. Then I have to say that these are the area that I want to keep, and so on and so forth. And these are, holding Alt, these are the area that I don't want to keep. And I have to go and do multiple keyframes. So if I do this frame, for example, you see that these areas remain. Which I can start make use of in combination with keying. So yeah, you see, but I hold Alt, this is not included, this included, not included, not included. And this is not included, not included, not included. And when I come back to my comp, I see that this one's added, but then I have to use spill suppression to get rid of that spill, which is like a lot of green here. You see the spill is gone. So without spill suppression, with spill suppression. So you see that it's not 100% there because I have to spend time. But that's one way I can fix that issue. So I'm gonna turn this layer off. So this is how we just like went from After Effects to Unreal Engine and came back. I hope this tutorial would be useful.